So today we are going to say something about the formal language and automaton regular expression kind of things that you would have studied in your formal course. We will try to revise all these things fastly here because these things are something which will be used in our course and very helpful to understand it. So here what we are going to say is the concepts of formal grammar, regular expression, its use in programming languages, and how these automaton can be used for recognizing regular expressions. Then we will see something about scanners and how tokens are generated. So it started with Backus-Naur form in 1959, where they specified how to write a language in I should say a grammar which could be a standard form. So they called it a normal form. Backus-Naur form we also call it. See, this is something in Backus-Naur form, a grammar for a simple language, where what we do, we have this program. We want to write a program. This program will have either one statement or it will have a piece of program and a statement. Okay. This program can in turn may have multiple statements, right? So here what we are saying is program may have multiple statements, or in last it will have one single statement, right? Then for a statement it can have a assignment statement or if statement. Assignment statement can be like this: is it whatever id is equal to expr semicolon. Expr means expression, it is also a variable. So now if a statement is if expression statement, expression is id int expression plus expression. Id are these terminals. Int is 0 something something to 9. These are the terminals. Now here two things that you have to understand is non-terminals and terminals. These variables, program statement, assignment statement, expression, these all the things are non-terminals. We can call it variables. However, these are the terminals where the this thing has to stop derivation. Okay. So basically, uh, here the rules of the grammar are called production. Production means these rules, that one rule that you have written here, program is this. Program gives statement. So this is a rule. It is also called a production. So in this rule, there are some non-terminal symbols and some terminal symbols. Hmm. Non-terminal symbols can also be called as grammar variables. In our example, it can be program, statement, ID, etc. Terminal symbols that we have seen are the concrete syntax which will not change. This is something which comes and it is not to be replaced with anything. Okay, so these we have seen A, B, C, D or 0, 1, 2. They are terminal. Here what we will see, ID is equal to expression, semicolon, है ना? Equal to sign, semicolon sign, if or plus symbol, these all the things are terminal which are not going to be replaced by anything. However, expression, statement, है ना? ID, int, these are going to be replaced by a terminal. So these are non-terminal and these are terminal. So these non-terminals are going to be replaced by something, right? Are going to be replaced by a sequence of terminal and non-terminals. So in this way, if a production is written, non-terminal gives these things. So it means this non-terminal can be replaced by something on the right hand side. Now, often there are two or more production for one non-terminal. For one non-terminal, there can be more than one production. For example, here we will see program gives a statement, or program gives program statement. Two productions for one non-terminal program. So what is going to happen is times not both of them will be used, but in some part of derivation one production will be used and another production will be used in another part of derivation. The one notation that we know, Backus-Naur form. Other kind of notations are also available. You can write it something like this. Arrow can be written in place of double colon equal to. In that case, it will not remain Backus-Naur form, but still it will remain a production. It will still remain a part of grammar. Okay. It can also be written like this. In some books, in some texts, we find to be written like this. This is also a notation. So this notation, uh, half whatever, less than equal, less than, greater than symbols. These help us in recognizing the non-terminal symbols, non-terminal variables, I should say. So these are the alternative notations. All of them have the same meaning. Now a sample derivation, a string which can be accepted by this grammar. Let us say it has a is equal to 1, whatever, semicolon something, and then so, a semicolon. So this is a program, whether it is or not. If this is a program, then this program has a statement and a program. Since here we can understand there are two semicolons, there are two statements. In that case, in the first statement we will take a program. First rule will be program gives program a statement. You know? With one statement we will have this thing, and then with one program we will replace the next program with a statement, and so on. Derivation, you would be aware how they are derived, right? We will see these things again. However, this is an example which can be which can satisfy this grammar and can be accepted by this grammar. So what actually do we do in parsing? We try to derive it using the grammar. We try to reconstruct the derivation of the program. If we are able to construct using our grammar, in that case we say we accept it, the syntax is correct. Otherwise we say that syntax is not correct. So what will happen is, let us assume we have one single recognizer, one simple program which can work directly from start and character by character. It reads the grammar and tries to understand. Yeah, it may be possible, but in practice what we do is we divide these all the works in simpler portions. What we do is we start with scanning and then we do parsing, right? We have seen this thing in the structure, where in the first phase we try to scan the program and then we parse it. So while scanning, what we do is we read the character streams and symbols and tokenize it. We generate some tokens, store it in symbol table for the parser to use it. Now the parser reads the token streams and tries to derive it. Okay, it just reconstructs the derivation, whether it is able to derive or not. It will see. If it is able to derive the program, in that case it will accept it, otherwise it will show the tell you the errors. So what will happen here is tokenizing. How will you generate the tokens? You would have seen this example earlier. Still, for example, if we have this statement, if something something something, then what are the tokens that can be generated here? You know? So let me ask some of you. Can I ask Chandan Tiwari? Chandan, I want to ask you about the tokens in this if statement. What are the tokens in this statement? Chandan.
Hello, sir.
Chandan.
Sir, now I don't know what I mean.
Okay. So Chandan is saying, sir, till now we are unaware what the tokens mean. So let me tell you, tokens. Okay, you are unaware of the tokens, what it means. Okay. In this slide we have the definition letter. Now let us assume every symbol we are considering, every symbol, I should say the meaningful symbol, every meaningful symbol or a set of characters to be taken as a token. Like here, if has a meaning, means if is known to be a keyword, so we are considering it as a token. Left parenthesis is a token, right parenthesis is a token. X is a symbol identifier, it is considered as a token. Greater than equal to, together it is a token. If only greater than it would have been, it would be a token. So everything here will be considered a token separately. Here you see 42 is a token and semicolon is a separate token. So the part this scanner, what tokenizing will do, it will create these tokens and store in symbol table for the use of the parser. Okay, before going for this tokens, we are saying why do we have separate part for a scanner and parser? Why not one single program which could scan and parse? It is just for two reasons. They are saying that simplicity and efficiency. Since these parts have been separated, so a scanner hides detail from the parser. We have just removed this white space, input files, comments, etc. mm, and generates the token. and keep it in the symbol table for parser. You know, parser is easier to build. Okay, has simpler input stream, means it will just take the tokens and work upon it. Efficiency. A scanner can use simpler or faster design. Usually it takes some time to scan and find out the tokens, but still we believe that it can be faster than the parser. So what actually we want is we want a distinct token kind, okay, lexical class for each distinct terminal symbol in the programming language. Each distinct terminal symbols, all the terminal symbols that we have in our program, they should be considered as tokens. Okay, so on the basis of the defined grammar that we have, we can define these lexical classes for tokens. Okay, so these can be a token, these can be a token. These keywords that you have defined, if, else, while, whatever, these all will be in, these are something that you will hardcode, you will define that these are the tokens, these are the terminals. Other terminals, something you can define like this particular characters can be a token, this particular integers or two digit integer, three digit integer, they can be a token. These are something that you can define. Typically, the tokens, all the operators and punctuation symbols, plus, minus, star, whatever, multiplication, parenthesis, this, that, colon, less than, greater than, equal to, less than, equal to, not equal to, and whatever the operators we have, each of these are distinct lexical class, means each of these are distinct tokens. All the keywords that we have, if, while, go to, for, all of them are tokens. Now all the identifiers that you have defined, they will be also considered as tokens. Integer constants that you have, a single int lexical class but parameterized by int value. So something int lexical class means integer values that you will define, they will be considered as one token. Other kind of constants also, maybe float or other things, if you have defined characters, they can also be considered as tokens. So these all the things are tokens. Now there is an example of return maybe not equal to if file. So here how many tokens are there? Huh? So question is for Mohit Jaiswal. Mohit, can you tell me, in this statement, return may be not equal to if I semicolon. How many tokens are there? Mohit.
Yes, sir.
So in this statement, how many tokens are there? Huh?
Last one. This.
In this statement, return may be not equal
Yeah.
to if I. How many statement? Sorry, how many tokens are there?
Four.
Hmm? How many tokens are there?
Four. Four.
Are you saying four?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you name them?
Return may be
Hmm.
and then not equal to an if.
Semicolon?
Sorry, semicolon 5.
Yeah. It is okay that you recognize that it is a there are five tokens, right? Some computing device, it will read the character by character and try to recognize which are the symbols and the tokens. So here not equal to symbol, it is exclamation mark and equal to. So while reading it, it will first read an exclamation mark which means not. So now it has to um, either accept this not as one symbol, as one token, or it has to wait for the next symbol, read it, and then decide whether next symbol is to be kept together for a separate meaning, or we should consider the first symbol only. So in that case, this is a principle of longest match, where we try to read more characters, and till we get a longest match, we keep on matching. Similarly, for if I also. Now if I is a separate identifier, right? Here if is usually a keyword. So although if is a keyword, however, if I is not a keyword, means it is an identifier, it is a different thing, but if I is not a keyword. Now the thing is, since if is a keyword, your compiler would have waited on if and tried to accept if as a separate token. But since we have this principle of longest match, it reads more character and then tries to find the actual thing. So in this case, although it is not equal to, uh, so not and equal to are not two separate tokens. Not equal to, since it has its own meaning, so it is being considered as one token. Now for a revision of your automata theory, you might remember that what is an alphabet. Alphabet is a finite set of symbols. String is a finite sequence of symbols. The string can be empty also. It is a sequence of symbols. These symbols can be from the defined alphabet only. Okay, a language is a set of strings. It may be finite or infinite, but usually is a set of strings. It means that there will be a recognizer which will recognize this language. Then that particular recognizer will accept all the strings of this particular language and reject all other strings. Such a recognizer can be called as automaton. One automaton will be a recognizer, a machine that accepts all the strings in the language and reject the other strings. Grammar is a generator, set of productions, set of rules, which is a system for producing all strings in the language. And this grammar produces no other string. It produces only those strings which are in the language. Okay, a particular language may be specified by many different grammars and automaton. However, one grammar or automaton will specify only one language. So there is something called regular expression. So the lexical grammar of most programming language can be specified with regular expressions. Tokens can be recognized by a deterministic finite automaton. This can be either table driven or built by hand based on lexical grammar. It's okay. We will say a more detail. For now, in regular expression, which is defined over some alphabet sigma. For programming languages, alphabet is usually ASCII or Unicode. ABCD kind of things can be there. So if regular expression RE, let us assume RE is a regular expression, then if we write LRE, we will understand it as the language on the set of strings generated by this RE, this regular expression. Okay. Now, fundamental regular expressions, you will say, if you will say A, this is a regular expression, and the language based on this A is just which will accept just one symbol A. You can also call it a singleton set. Epsilon means empty string. Phi means nothing, it is empty language. So the next is, let us assume R and S, two regular expressions are there. Then you can concatenate these two regular expressions. If you will concatenate them, the language will also be concatenated. If you will OR them, then there will be union of this regular expression. Star is something plain closure, uh, which means zero or more occurrences. So in language, of this regular expression also means zero or more occurrences will be accepted. If we see here the precedence of the string closure is highest, and then concatenation, then combination. They are saying that when we have more regular expression, we want to group them together, these parentheses can be used, no problem. Abbreviations. Okay, so here what they are saying is you can use R plus. R plus usually means one or more occurrences. You can also write it as R star. R question mark is usually for zero or one occurrence, which can be written as R or epsilon. A to Z. In this way also you can write a regular expression, which means any one character between A to Z, either A or B or C or Z, any one. Here you can see A, B, X, Y, Z, which means one of the given characters, right? On these regular expressions, you can put a star symbol, which will mean any number of the symbols from these set. Other examples are also there where plus uh, this all other characters, these all the things can also be kept. So now, can you tell me the meaning of this thing? ABC plus. Let me name whom to ask. Neeraj Patel. Can you tell me the meaning of this regular expression ABC plus?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, tell me. Neeraj Patel, tell me the meaning of ABC plus. We don't have much time, Neeraj.
Oh, sorry, sir.
Hmm.
Sir,
Yeah, continue. The meaning of ABC plus.
uh, sir, ABC plus with excellent not included in this and is like ABC, AC, ABC, AC, ABC, like this.
Hmm. No, 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 no. See, ABC is not in parenthesis. ABC is in big bracket. Try to understand something is in big bracket, which means either A or B or C. Okay,
Oh, yes, sir.
either A or B or C. One thing that you said was correct, was that zero is not acceptable. Means zero occurrence is not acceptable. If epsilon is not there, right?
Yes, sir.
Uh, Otherwise, any number of times A or B or C can come. Now, let me ask Pankaj Kumar about
Yes, sir.
ABC star. What does it mean?
Out of A, B, C, one character is there, any one character is there, and one or more occurrences. Zero or more occurrences.
Correct. So I will ask now Piyush Kumar the meaning of next regular expression 1 to 9, 0 to 9 star. Piyush Kumar. there is some problem here, I think. Samarjeet, can you tell us the meaning of this expression? Uh, 1 to 9, 0 to 9 star. Samarjeet.
Sir, at least one character is present zero from 0 to 9 and or more than one.
Understand. The first one is 1 to 9 and the next one is 0 to 9. Hannah?
Yes, sir.
So tell us again about this regular expression.
Sir, from 1 to 9, at least one is present, and from 0 to 9, many occurrence will be present,
0.
or no occurrence,
Hmm.
zero occurrence.
Oh, yeah, correct. Similarly, the next thing is also similar, where one occurrence from A to Z or A to Z, or 0 or more occurrence from B. So, so these are something that we have seen here in this regular expression. Other things are okay. Numerical constants can also be written like this. No problem. Okay, finite automata can be used to recognize strings. Okay, finite automata. How will you recognize this regular expression? For recognizing, usually you need a machine, and this such machine will be something like automata. So the finite automata can be used to recognize these kind of strings generated by regular expressions. So you can definitely design what we call it finite automata. You already studied in your course. However, some tools are also available. We call them lex, maybe flex or lex. They will be helpful in automatically generating the finite automata examples. Okay. Now the next thing will be finite state machine. Okay. Basically here what we are going to see is the finite state machine. Some of the examples. DFA, LFA, and then complete. So for today we will keep it here only. Those who have classes from 11:45 they can go for that. And further I will have to separately. For now, any questions till now that we have studied till now? Any questions? So I am asking if you have some questions to ask till now. So no questions. So we will end this session today. And we will upload more videos. Okay. Thank you.